Are the Houston Texans better or worse when you look at the beginning of free agency versus where they are now? Let's talk about it. This is the Texans Better Talk Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily Texans content. Let's get straight into this. Better or worse with the Houston Texans? Let's start with the two guys you see right there on the screen, Nick Caley on the left and Bobby Slowik. Look, Bobby Slowik was a decent play caller Stroud's rookie season. He wasn't amazing. I think he got labeled as amazing because of some great efforts by CJ Stroud. But in Stroud's rookie year, he was put in third and long in a lot of situations, and Stroud himself was able to overcome that. And that kind of got drained out because, oh, rookie quarterback, rookie play caller, it's working. I'm telling you, he wasn't that great in Stroud's rookie season. Now, fast forward to the 2024 season, Bobby Slowik is atrocious. He was so bad that it was genuinely hard to even forgive him from the bad offensive line play. Meaning we knew the offensive line play was bad. We still felt like a majority of the issues and problems were caused by Slowik. Obviously, Slowik controls the protection, the scheme, and that kind of a thing. But to give him the benefit of the doubt, the offensive line looked better last in 2023 than it did last year. So, whatever the reason, the offensive line played a lot worse. Bobby Slowik was unable to adjust and maybe fix his protection scheme rules or issues, and that was a weak exploitation. Really wonder what would have happened if we had a better play caller last season. And look, we can start talking about the actual plays too, but needless to say, the play calling was not great. Bobby Slowik was ultimately not amazing. He was far from it. He was actually pretty terrible in some key games. And for that reason, he is fired for Nick Caley. Now, look, we know nothing about Nick Caley calling plays. And Nick Caley has never called plays before. That being said, I still think the Houston Texans are better simply without Bobby, right? Addition by subtraction. By getting rid of Bobby, by getting rid of a bad play caller, even if Caley turns out to be not that great, I still think the Houston Texans get better. So that's a pretty easy one to start this video off with. Now let's talk about the wide receiver room. Now I'm not factoring in Tank Dell into this equation. Even if Tank Dell was factored into this equation, I still think the result is the same. Look, Tank Dell had an amazing rookie season. In his sophomore season, for whatever reason, he was not connecting with CJ Stroud. Part of that might be because of Bobby Slowik. Part of that might be the offensive line not giving Stroud time. Part of it might be Stroud himself regressing a little bit or Tank Dell regressing. Look, whatever the reason was, Tank Dell was not the same guy. He did have one amazing game. Unfortunately, that was against the Chiefs, and he ultimately had his season ended in that game, which sucks, but he's probably not going to play that much in the 2025 season, if at all. So we have to factor in the wide receiver room without Tank Dell. Stars denote new additions. So you have Christian Kirk, a new addition. Justin Watson, a new addition. Braxton Berrios, a new addition as well. Look, I think we can confidently say that the wide receiver room got slightly better. Look at who Stroud was throwing to in that Chiefs divisional game. They were bracketing Nico Collins, taking him out of the equation. And we had no one else to throw to. We were throwing to guys like, Jared Wayne, who slipped on a route. Like, it just looked really bad. Stroud didn't even have a wide receiver 2 or a 3. Now you're hoping that Christian Kirk can at least be a wide receiver 3, maybe a wide receiver 2, or you go get another wide receiver 2 in the draft, or maybe you get surprised with a wide receiver 1 in the first round of the draft. But whatever the reason, look, the wide receiver room did get better, slightly better. It's not amazing. We don't know if we have a bona fide wide receiver 2, but we're a lot closer to that. I think it's very unclear if John Mechie makes this roster. He offers you very little in special teams, and we know he's just not an amazing wide receiver. We could pretty much label him as a bust up until this point. I think Justin Watson and Braxton Berrios and Hutchinson, all three are better receivers than John Mechie. And then if we go draft another guy, I mean, that's 6 guys you got. I don't think Mechie makes this roster. I think Hutch might even find himself in a peculiar position if Nick Caley chooses to only bring 5 wide receivers into the upcoming season. So be on the lookout for Hutchinson. Be on the lookout for Mechie. They might not be on this team starting next season. All right, now let's talk about the big one, the most important one. Let's talk about the offensive line. At the very top, we have our starting offensive line as of right now. Cam Robinson at the left tackle spot. Titus Howard, left guard. Jared Patterson, center. Drew Scruggs, right guard. Blake Fisher, right tackle. This is a shaky offensive line, to say the least. The offensive line saw the most change in this free agency season. Let go of our star left tackle, Laramie Tunsil. Let go of our veteran right guard Shaq Mason, and of course let go of a underperforming, pretty terrible left guard in Kenyon Green. So two of those moves I do think make the offensive line better. Shaq Mason was damn near unplayable for a majority of the season, and Kenyon Green was flat out unplayable for the whole season. They still played him, don't get me wrong. But cutting Shaq Mason and cutting Kenyon Green, or trading Kenyon Green, were two very beneficial moves for this offensive line, and they make this offensive line better. Now, when you add in Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram, your two other guards you've brought to compete, I'm going to be real, they're not much better than what you have here. Yes, both of them are better than Kenyon Green. Yes, both of them are better than 2024 Shaq Mason. I don't know if either one of them is better than 2023 Shaq Mason. Like 2023 Shaq Mason was very solid, very reliable. I don't know if these two guys are better. Ed Ingram has never really figured it out on the Vikings. The Vikings were glad to get rid of him. He's an underperforming second-round pick. And Laken Tomlinson was on one of the worst interior offensive lines in the league in Seattle last year. Like, both of these guys are not great. I know we kind of like to bring up the fact that they add competition and they're two new faces that can compete for a guard spot. But the reality is, it's not set in stone that either one of these guys can be starters. I think Laken Tomlinson has the better chance at maybe getting a starting role, but both of them could easily be on the bench, and that could be a real reality to where they don't even offer us starting help at the guard position. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let's talk about the tackles. Cam Robinson got the bag. He got $14 million, and Blake Fisher is a rookie right tackle. Now let's talk about Blake Fisher first. Blake Fisher was a tackle selected in the second round by Nick Caserio. The whole thing with Blake Fisher was he's supposed to be a right tackle at the NFL level, and he was supposed to sit a year. Blake Fisher was not supposed to play last year, which is why a lot of people were frustrated when we picked him. Because think about it. We had Laramie Tunsil, we had Titus Howard, two of the highest paid tackles. We're like, why are we drafting a tackle in the second round? Well, good on Caserio for looking into the future and seeing that we needed Blake Fisher, because Blake Fisher ended up playing a lot in the 2024 season, obviously filling in for that right tackle spot when Titus had to play left guard. So Blake Fisher, hopefully this offseason is huge for Blake Fisher. He needs to come to training camp. He needs to start week 1 at that right tackle spot. That would solve so many problems for this Houston Texans offensive line, because again, he is supposed to be your starting right tackle. If Blake Fisher rolls out there starting week 1 and he can't get it done, man, what a waste of a pick. And I don't want to call him a waste of a pick, but you need him to be a starter. 100%, you need him to be a starter right away. The Texans know that, and they obviously are not 100% set on Blake Fisher and just giving him that role, and that's why they go ahead and select Trent Brown. Trent Brown's a massive human being, 6'8", 370 pounds, but he is coming off a patella tendon tear, which could limit his explosiveness. That's more of a long-term issue. So needless to say, Trent Brown, I don't know how great you feel about him being your starting right tackle coming off of a major tendon tear, but I'm glad that they brought more competition. I think he serves as better competition than both Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram. Now let's talk about Cam Robinson. They ultimately paid Cam Robinson $14 million, so he right now is going to be the starting left tackle. If someone beats him out, it will look like a very foolish $14 million that was essentially wasted because he's going to be a backup. You normally don't pay your second string tackles $14 million a year. You pay a guy like Nick Broker over here, or excuse me, that's Zach Thomas, sorry. You pay a guy like Zach Thomas over here $3 million, right? That's what a secondary tackle should look like. He was on the team last year. They just re-signed him, so that's why there's no red star. But Zach Thomas barely played. He might have something. Who knows? He's more of a depth piece. But anyway, back to Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson has been serviceable. He's been okay. He's been decent. He hasn't blown it out of the water. He hasn't been terrible. He is the best offensive line addition you made. He can at least start for you, and he's not coming off any like glaring injuries. Is he the best left tackle out there? No, but you had to get someone. You had to pay for him, so you paid for him. So with the offensive line, I think it's clear to see that there's a lot of uncertainty, and I guess I'll wait till the end of the video to give you my final judgment on the offensive line. Moving really quickly to defense. Look, the defensive line got slightly better. They were already elite. They get slightly more elite. You have your four guys. You keep Demeco Autry. You keep Mario Edwards. You re-sign Derek Barnett. You add some other guys to the mix. Tim Settle's still there. Obviously, this defensive line is going to be a bloodbath to see who starts, who makes the team. They have added a lot of competition. There's guys on here that are good that I couldn't even fit, like Tommy Togiai, for example, the D tackle. So the defensive line got better. Let's not spend too much time on that. They continue to add guys, and they just added a linebacker as well. Not going to cover the linebacker position, but they did get better. Finally, let's talk about the secondary. Look, the secondary got a lot better. There is no reason to believe they did not get better. You added C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the Kenyon Green trade. The secondary definitely got better. Kamari Lassiter is a shutdown corner. Derek Stingley, all-pro corner. Jalen Petrie plays his role really well if he can stay healthy. And now you don't have Eric Murray filling in. You have Jimmy Ward filling in, which is just raises, again, the floor of your secondary. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson is a starter. He is an absolute dog, and you have him for 2 years. So, the final judgment. Look, I'm going to say the defense got better overall. They added depth like they continue to do. They continue to sign defensive linemen. They make a great trade to pick up C.J. Gardner-Johnson and get that secondary set up. However, I think the offensive line got worse. Laramie Tunsil, yes, the leadership issues, yes, the whatever you want to say, the diva mentality, whatever you want to call it. He is an amazing left tackle. Your offensive line has gotten worse by a long shot. Therefore, your offense has gotten worse. I do like the Christian Kirk signing. I think he increases the floor of the wide receiver room by a lot, but it's just not enough to cover up for the loss of Laramie Tunsil. And the best thing we can hope right now is that Cam Robinson goes in there and he shows why he's making, $14 million a year. And I think he can. I hope he will. And I guess we'll find out. Obviously, still have the draft to look forward to as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Do you guys agree? Did we get better or worse after this free agency? Let me know in the comments, and I will see y'all in the next one, man. Peace out.